Hey everybody, my name is John from Community Life Church, and this is Meals Ready to Eat from the Bible. We would really appreciate a like and subscribe. Hello, today's episode is Being Generous is More Than Just Giving. We should give to God and others out of love and not out of selfishness. And we're going to take a look at a couple of passages today from Mark chapter 12 and from Matthew chapter 6. And we're going to see what Jesus says about giving and how he wants us to give. So let's get this up on the screen and get myself all set up here so that we can walk through these passages. And on the screen here, we're going to start in Mark chapter 12, verses 41 through 44. I'm going to look to my left and just read this. And Jesus sat down opposite the treasury and began watching how the people were putting money into the treasury. And you notice how people were putting money into the treasury. And many rich people were putting in large amounts. And a poor widow came in and put in 2 lepta coins. That's a very, very small amount of money, which amounted to a quadrans, which is a small amount of pocket change, if you will. A couple of pennies. Then calling his disciples to him, meaning he's calling them and saying, look, I'm going to explain to you what's going on here. So calling his disciples to him, he said, truly, truly, I say to you, this poor widow put in more than all the contributors to the treasury, for they all put in out of their surplus, but she out of her poverty put in all that she owned, all that she had to live on. And if we go to Matthew chapter 6, the first 2 verses, God amplifies what he's saying here. And he says, take care not to practice your righteousness in the sight of people to be noticed or honored by them. Otherwise you have no reward with your Father who is in heaven. So when you give to the poor, do not sound a trumpet before you as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets, so that they will be praised by people. Truly I say to you, they have their reward in full. All right, let's break this down, see what Jesus is saying to us today and how we should give, how we should live, and how we should be generous with those things that we have. So, to begin with, if we want to be noticed by people, we will be. If that's the reward we want, we can have it. We can go after it, we can earn it, we can get it, but that's all we're going to get. So we will get the rewards that we seek. If you want something bad enough and you work towards it and you try to get it, you're going to get it. That's what Jesus is saying in these passages when he says they have their reward in full. They already got what they're going to get. So if we work for an earthly reward, we will get it. We'll have it. Jesus is going to say, here you go. Now, it wasn't that she put in less. You know, sometimes people say, well, you maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, a little bit more. We're missing the point. The amount is not what Jesus is focusing on here. But she put in despite her wants and her needs. Now, she overcame by faith her sinful desires. You know, she had the same desires and wants and needs as all the other people. Just because she's poor doesn't mean she wasn't tempted by greed, but she had a small amount of money and said, I'm going to put this in to bless someone who has even less than I do. Right? Her motivation was to give and to bless and to give something to someone that they needed. So that she did not want to be seen, but she wanted to give. She was not motivated other than to give to God and give to people. So now, you know, we can see this amplified and even more so in the Old Testament story of King David in the second book of Samuel, chapter 24, verse 24. Someone is offering to King David a threshing floor and some oxen so that he could sacrifice these things to God. And he's going to say, look, I'll just give them to you for free. And David says this in response. He says, I will not offer burnt offerings to the Lord that cost me nothing. So he goes out and buys the oxen and the threshing floor and then offers them to the Lord. He wasn't motivated by what people saw. Oh, look at the king. He's giving all this stuff. He's saying, no, I'm doing this before God. I'm giving to God. I want to give him something that I value, something that's important to me. So what he did was he obeyed God. This woman obeyed God. The people who were giving publicly did not obey God because their motivation was to get something that's here, that's not eternal. This woman and King David both wanted something that's eternal, and that's what Jesus is saying. They can have this thing eternally. So we should give what is important to us, because what's important to us has value, and it has value to other people. The things that God has put in our lives are important to other people. We can give to them and give to them out of what is valuable to us, something that they value and they need and they can use. The amount is actually secondary, because God says, look, I want you to tithe. I want you to give 10% of all that you get. And if you get a lot of money, but you give 9%, in God's eyes, that's less than someone who has very little giving 10% because they obeyed. And that obedience is living by faith. And by that faith, we can change all the people around us. We can change the world by grace through faith. And that is good news. Thanks for watching. You can join us Sunday morning, 10:30 at 20 West Main Street, Catskill, New York. Can't make it? You can stream our services live on YouTube or Facebook, which you can find on our web at clchurch.cc. That's clchurch.cc. Don't forget to follow us throughout the week for devotions and times of sharing from leaders and staff. Leave a comment, leave a like, whatever you want. And thanks once again.